第32届温哥华国际电影节周四正式开锣，为期16日的电影节将上映来自75个国家地区，共341部电影。备受本地华人关注、专为亚洲电影而设的龙虎系列，本年有13部来自中港台的重量级电影参展，包括刘德华和郑秀文主演的《盲探》。电影节开幕活动在市中心的温哥华大剧院举行。当晚首映电影是由美国导演佩恩执导的《内布拉斯加》。参加开幕礼并主礼的政府官员包括卑诗省旅游及小型商业省务厅长山本、温哥华市长罗品信等嘉宾。本年的龙虎系列电影除了多样化，也具有号召力。其中本年在中国累积2亿票房，由杜琪峰、刘德华、郑秀文铁三角组合打造的香港电影《盲探》入选2013康城电影节，并由刘嘉玲以及陈坤参演的《过界》，以及香港软硬天师及曹猛演唱会纪实片《大战》都会在这次电影节上画。此外，来自中国大陆以及台湾的电影分别有中国大陆导演杨丽娜执导的《春梦》，柴春芽的《我故乡的4种死亡方式》，杨正帆的《远方》，王斌的《风爱》，贾樟柯的《天注定》，以及史杰鹏、徐若涛、黄湘的《玉门》。台湾方面有钟孟宏的《失魂》，张作义的《暑假作业》和蔡明亮的《郊游》。本届电影节共有9间戏院参与，并预计能吸引到14万影迷观看。市民欲查询更多的电影节内容或购买门票，可以登录大会网站浏览详情。
感谢我的妻子，她不要求我去买房买车，支持我拍电影。
And also I want to thank my wife who didn't demand me to go buy a house or a car. Instead, let me make movie with my mother.
感谢温哥华国际电影节。
As I was telling Tony yesterday, well, speaking in a second language is like talking when you're drunk. You can be excessively fluent, but you don't know what you're talking about. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Tony and the Vancouver International Film Festival for providing such a great platform to showcase my film. It's really a privilege and honor to be among so many great films. When I started to make this film, I had no idea how far it'll reach, how many people can understand it, but now I'm overwhelmingly thrilled. Thank you.
それで受け入れられたのかなというふうに思ってます。
As you may have seen the film, I thought it could be very difficult to understand my film. While I was making it, I was worried that how many people could understand and appreciate my film. But thanks to the Vancouver International Film Festival, here I am standing with this award and in this beautiful city of Vancouver. Thank you very, very much.
我觉得作为电影人最重要的是说我要关注我们身边的真实的生活，然后通过电影能够把我们最真实的情感表达出来，我觉得这是最重要的。
那跟我们说一下那您是这次得到这个评审团的特别奖，心情如何？听到这个结果的时候？
当然非常激动。
那除了激动之外，还有什么希望可以跟我们分享？
是激动之外还有很多悲伤，对，因为这部电影做得非常不容易，对，所以它是一个很不容易的电影。如果能在国际大奖里边获得奖项，是非常激动也非常让人忧伤的事情。
Hi, I'm here with Tom Charity at the Vancouver International Film Festival, and we've just seen the winners of the Dragons and Tiger Award. Now, Mr. Charity, we're just wondering about the winner of the award itself, which is called the Paperclip. That's the one. What did you think of the movie? What made you choose that movie over all the other amazing films there?
You know, on the face of it, this is a very simple film. It was made very cheaply over a series of weekends. with a cast of maybe half a dozen actors, 4 or 5 locations, and it's a very minimalist film. It's a comedy, and yet it's so beautifully filmed. Real mastery and control in developing a slow burn comedy. So it's got a series of running gags, very droll, that build as the film progresses. And for all its apparent simplicity, it proves to be really quite sophisticated and surprising in the way that it develops. And I think it has quite a lot to tell us about the way a lot of us live and work. It's a film about somebody who works in a paperclip factory. Of four workers, and you just see them kind of crafting these paper clips. It's just a beautifully well-made film.
Well, it sounds like an amazing film. I can't wait to see it. What about the runner-up? What can you tell me about that film?
So we chose 2 films from China as special mentions. When we were deliberating in the jury room, those 3 films were very much the films that stood out for us. While the other films in competition all had their merits, and each of us liked at least one of the films, all of us liked these 3 films in particular. So there were 2 very different Chinese films. Trap Street is really a psychological thriller about a surveyor who comes across a street that doesn't appear on any maps, and he's instructed by his bosses not to put it on his survey either. So he becomes intrigued by this, but more than that, he's intrigued by a woman that he meets there, and he keeps going back because he wants to bump into this woman. That's a bad mistake, because there are reasons that they don't want the street to appear on any official record, and he gets in deep trouble. So that's Trap Street. And the 3rd film was 4 Ways to Die in My Hometown, which is a very different film. It's a first film by a man from a rural province near Tibet, which is very far from the world we know here in Vancouver. Very agrarian, very little development, but clearly changing rapidly. And it's kind of a film about that change from tradition to modernity, but it's done in a completely surrealistic way. It's structured around the 4 elements, and the narrative is very unconventional. It's a film of very striking original imagery, strong music, that kind of carries the momentum of the film rather than the story.
And for you, would you say the most important part of the film is the cinematography, or is it the story, or is it a mixture of all of it together? What do you feel about that?
You know, you're really looking for all those elements to be form an organic whole. You want them all to be serving a whole. I think you're also looking for something original, something a little bit different from the new, particularly in this competition, which is designed to celebrate new filmmakers. And it's really refreshing to see filmmakers who are not just copying others. They're not just copying what other people have done, but have a singular vision and bring that freshness to the screen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Charity, for this interview.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see all the films and all the other films here at the Vancouver International Film Festival.
There's a repeat screening of the winner, Anatomy of the Paperclip, on Saturday, so look out for that.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I'm here with Tony Rains at the Vancouver International Film Festival. You've been with the Vancouver International Film Festival for many years now. Where do you see it going in the next decade or 2?
Well, I probably won't see it going anywhere, because I don't think I'll be around for forever and ever. I mean, I'm getting very old now, so I think retirement is looming. But I think your question is a very good one, because what you're pointing to is the way that the role of festivals is changing a bit. I think cinema is changing anyway. Generally, the institution of cinema is changing. Big commercial films are getting bigger and more commercial, and there will be less cinemas but showing bigger films, more blockbusters, so-called blockbusters. Most of them will, of course, be American. It's the law of the nature of these things.
Of course.
I think the space for other kinds of film, which, to be honest, is more what interests me, and probably more what interests the film festival as well, is shrinking in a way. I think there'll be less cinemas willing to show other kinds of work, but there will be, at the same time, an increase in other platforms. Already now, a lot of people are streaming films onto their home computers or home television sets. Some people are watching films on tablets or even on phones, you know. I mean, there are now many new ways of watching a movie. Those new ways are changing the way, especially the young people, look at film. I think that attention spans are shorter than they used to be when I was a kid. And so maybe the feature film is not going to be the way of the future. Maybe independent film will get shorter and become more bite-sized, you know, more easily consumable that way. I don't know, but I'm not a prophet. I think for the moment the festival will carry on doing what it's been doing, which is trying to show an interesting mixture of mainstream work and non-mainstream work, trying to represent, you know, the range of cinema out there. And try to meet the needs of Vancouver's audiences particularly, because Vancouver people have particular tastes and interests, and it's to do with the ethnic diversity of the population in Vancouver, and it's also to do with, you know, the kind of movements that take ground here. I mean, this is a very strong city for ecology, for example, and so the festival programming has an ecology strand running through it, which is in response directly to the interests of local people. And I think the festival was, you know, very smart to do that. I think the festival needs to establish that kind of connection with its local audience. So I'm sure that will continue. But if you ask me 10 years ahead, well, I don't think I'll be here in 10 years' time. I'm sure I'll be 6 feet under. But the festival, I guess the festival will still be going, but maybe it'll have a different shape, and maybe it'll be doing some different things by then.
Okay, well, thank you for this interview, Mr. Rain.
感谢收看今天的大温故事，我们下期再见。